What's up, YouTube? So this is my custom portable workbench. I built the top out of Baltic birch. It folds up in the middle. It has lots of cool features on it, and it sits on the Bora Centipede stand. So stay tuned. I'm gonna give you a walkthrough through this thing. It's worked really well for me. It might work really good for you as well. So here it is. This is the full setup, these two pieces here. I've got this in the back of my 4Runner. This is my tow vehicle. The reason I built this is because I didn't have any space in my trailer for a dedicated workbench, so I needed something that could fold up, be very nice and portable, and fit in the back of my vehicle, and take it out in one trip with these two pieces. All right, so I pulled the trailer out of the garage so I could have this space to set this thing up and give you an overview on the workbench. So this whole system is based on the Bora Centipede stand. It is the 36-inch high, 2-foot by 4-foot stand. I had my doubts about it. I thought it was gonna be flimsy, but after using it for quite a while, I'm super impressed. With the bench top on there, as well as some weight, this thing is insanely strong. So here's an up close of the bench top all folded up. I used Baltic birch to make the top, Baltic birch plywood, 1/2 inch thick. And I'll go into a deeper dive of the actual build in a second. This is just an up close look. And then I put these leather handles on here, which make it super easy to haul around when it's folded up. Also have some Velcro to hold the two sides together. All right, let me set this thing up for you guys so that you can see just how easy it goes together. So the Centipede just splays out. Sometimes, if the ground's not level, you'll have to shim up in places, but it does have a kind of automatic leveling feature. So for the most part, I never have to worry about that. So then I'll take the bench, set it with the top side down so that I can unfold it and flip it over. Pull the Velcro part, and then flip it around. All right, so here's a full look at the bench all set up. The top is made from 1/2 inch Baltic birch plywood. Whole surface measures 53 inches long by 29 inches deep. It's been a really good work surface for me. It's big enough to handle full cabinet parts and other things, but it's also small enough to fold up and pack up for transit. So I went with Baltic birch for a few reasons. It's much stronger and flatter than typical plywood. Doesn't warp as easy. And it's got a super thick top veneer too, in case it gets scratched or anything like that. Then I drilled out a bunch of dog holes. I left the center section clean so that I can work on stuff, put parts in here and not have to worry about them falling through the holes. This has been a pretty good layout for me. Got clamping options all around the outside of this. Around the outside of the table, I've built it up to 1.5 inches thick using 3 layers of 1/2 inch plywood. That is so a lip runs around the tabletop so that the table doesn't slide off of the stand if I were to bump this or something. And then that also gives me an area to mount my TTrack in the front of this. Now the TTrack is really great. I'll show you a more detailed look on that. But I can use the same clamps that I use for the dog holes to hold pieces of wood in the vertical position. So here's the look underneath. Obviously it's not as pretty as the top. It doesn't really need to be, it's just functional. So I've got 2 hinges in the middle there, and I've got a 1-inch spacer block on top of the hinges. And the reason I do that is because if you were to mount these hinges at the seam right underneath the first layer of plywood, this first 1/2 inch, it would bind because of this border. So basically the hinge needs to be at the bottom point of this edge, if that makes sense, so that it works properly. So that's the hinge system. Then I've got this wood block glued in here that just holds my festool clamps. And then that guy just pops open and you pull those right out of there. Before I continue, I want to shout out Carpenter1 on Instagram and YouTube. He built a bench very similar to this. I got a ton of inspiration from it. Kind of took what he had, added a few things, and made it work good for me. So this is one of the things he did, was this speed square that slides on out of that slot and then sits flush. Then also routed in these little indentations to hold screws and stuff so that they aren't just rolling across your tabletop, falling through the dog holes, stuff like that. I built a template for that stuff and routed it in with a flush trim bit. Then I also put in this router plate here to mount the Milwaukee trim routers to. I do have to screw them in with 4 screws. It doesn't take too long. I was trying to figure out a quicker way to do it, but that works pretty good for me. If I'm putting in a round over bit or something, if I've got a lot of parts to do, I like using that thing. Across the front, obviously we've got the TTrack. This is super nice to hold boards vertically. It clamps them down to the table, super nice and tight. And then, I use this a lot doing edge banding and stuff like that. My favorite part, obviously, is the dog holes to clamp boards down to the work surface. This is really great for face frames and other things like that. Use it pretty much every day. So yeah, this is a very functional table with quite a few cool features on it. I've also got these slots here that I mortised in, and these hold the clamps. I can show you. These basically hold the clamps like that if I'm not using them. So the tabletop I finished in a boiled linseed oil. Leaves a really nice finish for a work surface. It does great outside if I leave it in the weather, and then you can just reapply it when you need it. So this was my solution to getting a nice workbench on the job site. Something that's super lightweight, that packs up, sets up in no time at all, and it's very sturdy too. I use this thing almost every day when I'm working on site somewhere. With my workflow, I usually build projects here in the shop, load them in the trailer, go deliver and install. So this is my installation workbench. Works super good for building face frames, or if I'm edge banding, or any other on-site project, it works great for. And just to show you guys how solid this is, I decided to stand on it. Doesn't budge at all, so it is super strong. All right, guys, thank you for making it to the end of the video. This workbench has been sweet for everything I've needed it for. If you've got a garage where space is limited, you need to pull your car in, this would work well too. Fold up, store up against the wall. So yeah, it's super compact, very portable, very strong, and functional. If you guys liked the video, please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned, follow for more. Thank you.